Alive at 5. I'm actually somewhat on time here. And yeah, so hold on. I should turn my phone off because it's going to make some noise. And because people like calling me and blah, blah, blahs. Boom. Don't. Things I don't need. Clear all these things. All right, thank you. Welcome to Vlog Thursday. It is I don't know the episode number. Hold on. 171. Wow. All right. A lot of artifacts in the video. I can't help that. Live streams go like this. It's the way of the world these days. Everyone's on live stream. Yo, Xavier. We should talk later, man. I had I wanted to dive into some we'll talk later about it, so so it's definitely going to be I don't know. I had an aggravating moment. I had a thought, but we'll talk later about it. It's just some maybe some fun hacking ideas. And if you don't know Xavier, he's been on the channel. He does cybersecurity, enterprise, offensive enterprise. Put your website in here. Enterprise offensive security. I'm having an entire mouthful of problem here. So, anyways, let me message this person. I was in the middle of like 10 things. This is why I usually start late. Moment. I will check back. Maybe I didn't. I was having someone help me on the phone. So. All right, back to this. Artifacts. I have no idea about the artifacting. I don't have any control over that part. That's just the stream getting uploaded and YouTube having whatever connection. Matter of fact, YouTube specifically says it's having an absolutely excellent connection over here. Not a problem. I have someone testing my phone system. We're setting up some new stuff. Cool. All right. The stream has so much artifacting. Well, I don't know. Your video is breaking up. Try reconnecting cables. I actually see a feedback of the stream, and I see the stream here. And I see it artifacting here, but it's not artifacting when it leaves here, so I don't really know how to make it stop artifacting. We can... Yeah, wow, it's certainly doing it. You're not wrong. But I don't know how to stop it. Let's log into pfSense. Let's see if I'm having a stream problem before we get further into this. I guess that's one way to look at. We have really good ping times, so I don't know. The pings are really low, so it's a YouTube problem. Try licking the mouse or double-clicking it. You can lick or double-click the mouse. I'm not sure which one works better. Anyways, we can talk about... now that we're actually on topic again. Sorry. Now we'll be on topic. That's done. That's done. That's done. Cool. Hot sauce. We'll start there while it's artifacting before we talk about anything important. By the way, as long as the audio is working, I think you're good. And it looks like the artifacting stopped. I have another screen over here. I have the screen I reviewed the other day so I can keep the live stream up. Oh, no, there I go, artifacting again. Awesome. So let's drag this artifact up. And we are working with here, all right, make sure I close people's personal information. I got exposed. We're working with many screens here. Frank's RedHot hot sauce. We buy it in bulk here. So, I wonder if it artifacts when I'm doing a screen share like that. Does that artifact? You know what? There's less moving on the screen, so it probably won't artifact. So we'll just leave the Frank's RedHot sauce up there. Does that? that's not artifacting. But we will switch. So I buy it in bulk, but it's hard to pour in bulk. So I got my Frank's. This is Tom's personal squeezy bottle of Frank's RedHot. I just drink it. I like it a lot. It's really good. So that's my... It does artifact. All right, weird. I'm not sure how to... I mean, I don't know if I can adjust it. Well, I can look. I can see if there's a stream setting adjustment. Like, but I don't think so. YouTube doesn't really seem to have there's not an option on this side, at least from YouTube. I'm going to look in OBS real quick, but I never change the settings in OBS. I set them always the same. You cannot do it while you're live. So I'd actually have to start the stream over to make this work. I don't know. It's not the camera. See, the camera's got a good feed. The stream comes out, but the camera itself is perfectly fine. So when I go to the camera view in OBS, it previews perfectly fine. Yeah, I need gigabit. Let me see, where's the stream caused at? Is it when I do this? Well, this is fun. This is why live is so much more fun. I think YouTube's just messing up. So I can pause the stream, and start the live stream over again real quick. Let's just stop and start it real quick. Let's see if that fixes it. So don't go anywhere. The same link should work. So I'm just going to stop the stream going to it and restart the stream going to it. Does that work? It says it's live again. Oh, let's see if I artifact. It takes a lot of motion to get it to do it, so let's try it. There's 2 YouTube servers I can choose from. I chose the other YouTube server. That's the only thing I changed. Seems to be working. Yep. So the YouTube has 2 options for what they call their ingestion servers, where they take in the stream, and the second one seems to work fine. So, yay! So I'm back to drinking RedHot in a more clear fashion for those of you that care. Lag on audio, no artifact, all good. I don't know. I have no idea what the lag on audio. It's synced up to me. I don't know what happens when YouTube gets it. So YouTube is probably having a problem because so many people are streaming. So anyways, the other mention that we'll get out of the way first, because this is non-technical. So we get all the non-technical stuff out of the way. I drank some hot sauce. I will drink more. I just like hot sauce. That's why I got a squeezy bottle full of hot sauce. And thank you to every one of you that clicked the subscribe button for this. Look at that. Actually, you can look at yourself too. You can look at the camera. Woohoo. 100,000 subscribers. I'm actually at 120,000 right now. But hey, thank you to all of you that clicked the subscribe button. I haven't put it on the wall yet because that took some level of effort. I got that far. It's on the table. And then it'll go on the wall behind me and we'll figure out exactly where we're going to hang it. But thank you for smashing the like button, smashing the subscribe button, bashing the subscribe button. And I like that as well. Same sound sync issues. It's kind of a YouTube thing. I've seen where YouTube gets them out of sync. I watched a video. It was out of sync. It was on my Chromecast. I stopped it, started it, and it just went back in sync, and I have no idea why. So I just don't know. But yes, I did get the silver play button. So there's the technical stuff or non-technical stuff out of the way. I drink some hot sauce, and I drink a lot. This stuff is so good. My throat's a little bit, when it bothers me a little bit because I have allergies, that I know of. I don't have the coronas. Hot sauce helps. Vinegar helps. I drink vinegar too. I like vinegar a lot. I mean, I like whiskey better, but I can't have whiskey well, I could have whiskey at work. I own the place, but I choose not to have whiskey at work. That's one of those adult things. It's kind of like when you were a kid and you said, man, when I'm an adult, I'm going to do nothing but eat ice cream all day. And then you're an adult, you're like, this is a bad idea. I'm not just going to eat ice cream all day. Let's see. Ever watch a Klingon clip on YouTube with closed captions? That sounds fun. No, but it seems like a good idea. Yeah, the YouTube content delivery network. You know, hats off to just the scale and scope of how big YouTube is and just how their system works. I mean, when you think about just how big of a system that is, it's pretty wild. So it's the fact that it works is outside, just absolutely amazing to me. But Ryan Gesh, I didn't miss it. Thank you for all the hours of entertainment, and thank you, Ryan, for the donation of a few $5. It is greatly appreciated. I know no one's going to feel bad for me for saying it, but the Amazon people have been scurrying us as creators, and it's going to hit some of the creator communities. What they're realizing is, and Amazon has every right to do this, but they're cutting the rates that they pay out on commissions because they can. Because where else are you going to go? We've got the monopoly on the world. So, whatever. Me and some other creators were talking about that. It's going to be, what they're doing is if they know more people are online and right now all the ad revenue is really down. This is across the board because there's a certain amount of ad revenue I get from the AdSense system on YouTube. And it's going to be an issue. It's there. I'm not big enough to be on Floatplane. I'm not big enough to get anyone there to email me back. So they don't care if you have 100,000. I don't know where he's going with it. I mean, cool. I think it's great that he's trying to build a secondary platform. I'm not clear, even after watching it, like, one of those, how is it going to work out? How will it work for creators and things like that? And someone's going to point out, what about insert name of some other system? The problem I have with all the other systems, one, discoverability is tragically bad on them. Two, they end up with just a bunch of conspiracy people on them because they don't filter, and then the entire site ends up just full of crazy conspiracy people that just spout nonsense all day because they got banned from YouTube. That's the problem I have with those platforms. They become so hyper-focused on those, and I think library was one someone mentioned. I went there. It's filled with crazy people that got banned from YouTube. The government doesn't like what I have to say, and I'm telling you the truth, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's fine. Have at it. But I want my content on that platform while people try to find it? It's hard to find, it's hard to search versus YouTube, the discoverability, the reach, the engagement, it's hard to do. I like what Linus is doing with Floatplane. I think it seems like a cool idea, but obviously he's got a filter who comes on there, and I don't apparently meet the filter levels for it. I don't know. Maybe I know people that know Linus. I know a guy who knows a guy. Maybe there's a chance I can get on that platform. It seems pretty cool, but let's all. If you guys don't want to tweet at it, they don't even. Someone got a deny from them. I didn't even get a deny. I can look again. When did I email them? So I didn't even get. I got to confirm your email address on December 16th of 2019. I registered with them. I registered as a creator. That's the last. They sent me a confirmation to validate my email, and I never heard back. So, it's kind of a pain. I mean, you kind of have to do something as a creator, but I don't know what the easy or if there's any easy solution to this problem at all. Let's go. Where is... Close that. There we go. It's weird because let me send it over there. Where's it at? We'll drag this up to there. This is my screen layout right now. I got triple screens. So one of them's the screen 2 is the screen behind the there's a TV mounted actually behind the monitor, behind the camera screen. The other screen is my USB-C display that I had the other day. I'm still playing around with it. And then of course there's my laptop right in front of me to be able to pull things up. So kind of neat. That's my that's why it's confusing when I'm doing all this, because there's so many things going on. Too many things at once. Anyways, let's get to some actual tech talking. So I'm going to probably keep having a screen on the side here. This is really helpful for being able to keep up if I look up something here and I don't have to tab back to see everything in here. So let's see. How many people have discovered... get discovered on Vimeo or on a PeerTube instance? Supporting a less popular service can be problematic. Also, the flow plan for is there a flow plan for YouTube's? I don't know. That's the thing. And if I did something in full plane, it's not like I would stop YouTube. It's just another medium by which I can do things. But right now, YouTube is my primary because it's got the best discoverability. It's how more new people find me every single day. I can, actually, I can pull up these stats. If anyone cares about what the back end looks like in the analytics. And it's cool if you got a giant brand name. Hey, that's cool. I'm not going to fault people who, can easily pivot to another platform. But one of the other challenges people have, and let me put this over here so I can see it. When you talk about the fact that every 90 days I get 1.3 million unique viewers. 20,000 new people discovered my content. I mean, this is the one thing about it. How do I get this kind of, how do you keep that rolling? I mean, I have to wait for someone to tell people I'm on another platform like Vimeo, Library, you name it. It's really hard to gain a following there, especially when most of my stuff is tutorials. Most of the discovery for how people find me is I created a video that solved a problem they were looking for, a tutorial on how to set something up, whatever that something is. That is the main method by which people discover me. That is not going to work on other platforms, something like Floatplane, because Floatplane's not going to, until they have like a really nice API that's, somehow federates everything and then publicly ties to people's websites and Google indexes it and can list as a source, et cetera, you can see how it's a big problem. That has to all work in order for them to discover it. Versus right now, you search in pfSense tutorial, and we can even open up a, let's do this in an incognito window so it's not influenced. pf HA setup. Even incognito window, I'm the first results. So I'm the first results. The second result is actually Netgate, and the first result is the document for Netgate themselves and how to do it. And this is why I keep putting things on YouTube, because this is where people can find me. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Tom's hot sauce tips, absolutely. Yeah, the YouTube algorithm is strong. That's where the whole problem comes in. So that's how I found you, and I have some suggestions. Oh, hello, Peter Morris, a new viewer. Some people did find me from SMLR. Yes. I can switch to a VPN, and I can swap my VPN to another country, and my videos still show up. I already know I have a whole lot of options on that. Matter of fact, no, I can't do it without mirroring. I was looking to see if I can do it without mirroring the screen. I have to mirror all the screens back together to one to make that, to show you. I have all my VPNs set up inside of Linux here, so I can pop up in any country. I just have them on a list on a sidebar, and I just click on whichever VPN I want to connect to. I do that for testing, or sometimes I'll spin up a Tor instance just to pop it in somewhere else and test it. So, new viewer from South Africa, awesome. Bangladesh, that's great. Okay. Can everyone catch a retweet? Oh, okay. People retweeting for the Floatplane. Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you. Much appreciated. Business as usual. I didn't pick a topic today to like play with it. I mean, I still have. It's still turned on. Matter of fact, the mess from last week is still sitting here. The whole messy FreeNAS build with all the drives and everything else. It's delicately balanced over here. I just didn't clean it off the desk. It's actually turned on because I'm now working on a new series of Active Directory videos for FreeNAS. That's been a lot of problems people have had with the new version. We're sorting out a couple. I mean, it's not that it doesn't work. It's just there's some nuances to the way the ACLs work. So far, it seems better overall, but better also meant they changed things, and changing things broke things for some people because they were used to something working a certain way. Now it works a different way, so we're making sure I have an updated tutorial, because I haven't done a tutorial in Active Directory in a while with FreeNAS, and the good news is it's going to be easier. There's less steps in setting up FreeNAS now than there was previously for Active Directory. So that's something we are going to work on. That's what this is going to get loaded up for, is Active Directory. So internally, we've had some time. So my staff have been playing with doing all this as well, building, breaking, and everything else. Someone else said they had a question. What do you run on your laptop? Pop OS. And soon I'll be reviewing Pop OS 20. So that's going to be coming out really soon here. Whoops, where's my mouse cursor? When you have a lot of screens, the mouse cursor gets lost more often. I have Pop OS on here, and I will be running Pop OS 20 very soon, because it's going to be out really soon, so I'm excited about that. That's definitely pretty cool. How often do I run Cisco equipment? Do I work with Cisco equipment? Randomly, not all the time. We don't see as much of it as we used to. I know it's out there in the market. We're just not seeing it as much anymore. But the nature of what we do, because we're frequently replacing things with, well, not Cisco stuff, which is really why we don't see it all the time. Let's see. Could you describe how an ISP connection is used in the US, for example, static or dynamic PPOE connection, so you can connect it to your ISP modem pfSense? I thought about talking more about that in a video because it just seems to come up a lot, but for the most part, you're at the mercy of so many problems. One of them is the way the ISP handles it, and this varies from country to country. We hardly use PPOE here in the U.S. I'm not saying we don't, but at least in the Detroit and Greater Michigan market and majority of the major metropolitan areas, PPOE is not really used. In Europe, it's used a lot. It's just not used here. Second, if you are using some of the AT&T type of connections, many of them force you to use their equipment and don't allow third-party routers. So you're kind of stuck again with that. So it's hard to do a video on it because I'd have to do like a video for so many different scenarios. Or if you live in a rural area, and I have family that lives in rural areas, you don't get public IPs. You are double natted essentially. They use carrier grade NAT to hand off IPs to equipment, and they're using a variety of, whatever they do for the WISP site to sites, whether it's Cadmium Networks or UniFi or a couple other ones out there. Cadmium is actually pretty popular in that market, but you don't even get public IP addresses, so there's no way to host things on. And my dad has that kind of connection. My family lives in a very rural area of Michigan, and wireless is the only way they can get internet. So Pop OS 20 does have tiling window management. So Matthew from NZ, $20. Awesome. Looking forward to the FreeNAS AD videos. Yeah, they're coming along. That's actually, if I have time, depending on today or tomorrow, that's my goal, is to start working on those. It takes a little bit longer before before I actually have the video out, but we're at least doing the testing and everything else, so there's going to be that. I haven't seen, any of the WISPs I've seen have not used PPOE. David says they do. I just have not seen any of them. But carrier grade NAT, they do a lot of that. Does pfSense have a TFTP server? I don't think it does. I don't know. Never, to my knowledge, no. It has the ability to specify one in a DHCP server, but I don't think it has one built in. Usually when I'm setting that up, I'm just specifying, so not necessarily running the TFTP server inside of there. Would I use zero tier for a temporary local access solution on a remote PC? Is anything? It's not really. I mean, you could use it for temporary local file access. There's better ways to do it, but it would work for that. My fractional scaling on GNOME doesn't work. Fractional scaling is supposed to work quite good in Pop OS. I don't know about other versions. Pop OS is supposed to do quite well. Fortinet is doing a load-free course. Huh. I'm not a big fan of Fortinet. Looking into getting into full network implementations, I recommend signing up with IT Pro TV. There's an offer down below. So, let's see. Watching video on configuring VLANs and FreeNAS, and now I'm a little bit confused. If I have dual link cards, should I use that solution or LECP first? I don't know. I've not done LECP. Most of the systems I'm doing have just fast cards in them, so they have 10 gig or faster cards or 40 gig cards, so I'm not usually using LECP to link them together, or we're doing enterprise ones where they come pre-configured in TrueNAS that way. And then in TrueNAS where you aren't running any jails, so I don't know which one should be first. I don't have anything on Cadmium right now. It's on my to-do list. Draytech. They've had several 0 days. I have no compelling reason to use them. I don't hate them, but I don't have... There's nothing about them that go, wow, that's cool, I should use it. It didn't seem to offer any compelling features that I don't get already. And especially with... And granted, Sophos. I did a video on this. Sophos did a great job on their security. But this is one of the reasons I'm so hesitant to ever try different firewalls. They did a great job on their security in terms of debriefing and fixing and mitigating, but somehow a SQL injection got past QA and allowed systems to be attacked and compromised. There's where the problem is. This is why I don't jump on. I mean, you guys are like, but Lom, look at this random firewall company all the time. And I'm like, I kind of like to go with companies with proven track records of security, because the only thing standing between my network and a lot of private data is that firewall. So you have the internet, you have my firewall, you have all the things I care about. I can't just throw anything up there, and there's not an easy way to test any of these. It's really hard. I'll admit, too, if you're a new firewall company and you want to start up, good luck. It's hard. It's hard to win over public opinion. I guess maybe there's always people who are just looking for the cheapest price. So if you want to start a firewall company and just make it cheaper than everyone else, trust me, there is a group of people that will just jump on things that are cheap. But when it comes to security, it's one of those reasons I kind of steer clear of all the new and random ones that come out there. And I've done a video on Fortinet. Fortinet has an entire history of horrifically bad security. Their security is like circus music playing in the background when you look at the problems. They weren't like coding errors or something like that. Coding errors happen. But when you've accidentally left private keys on more than one occasion, when you've accidentally wrote a backdoor for a client that somehow merged into your main code base, you have some clear internal problems with your company to cause that level of security problems. So it's just a mess, and some of them are. So that's, I mean, David says they're a solid value. They just don't have solid security. So that's... Yeah, security is bad for Fortinet. Seems like if you're a firewall company, you probably don't want bad security. The bug, when you dive into the bug where they had the backdoor in the VPN, read the history on that. It's almost like a giant facepalm that you can't believe. I mean, what kind of QA system are they running? If you dive into the Fortinet backdoor to VPN, apparently one of their clients asked for a custom firmware that would allow them to reset passwords remotely over VPN. I don't remember the exact context, but something along those lines. Either way, that was a client making a request. By accident, they merged it into their code base. And I'm just like, what? How do you have a custom firmware written for someone that merged in your main code base that made your product less secure? I don't have, you know what I mean? Just, I'm puzzled by stuff like this. If you want something 100 gig, one, you're not running it at home, and I know a lot of I see people ask it all the time. I laugh at too, because we end up with weird consulting sometimes. I really want to make sure my system's scalable for 100 gig at my house. You know, okay, but I don't want someone. And actually, it's kind of funny. We didn't reply. We get there's a contact form for hiring us, and we've had a couple of them that we just don't reply to because I don't know how to reply to these type of questions. It's like, I'm running this super high end, spent $10,000 on equipment type of high end. And I think your consulting rates are too high and I don't want to pay them, but I still want help. Okay. And you're right. One of the reasons when you get into, someone says you won't be finding 100 gig plus firewalls won't be pfSense. Once you get to the really, really high-end 100 gig, you're doing things different completely. Matter of fact, if you look at what Facebook has done, Facebook's, let me find it. It's a fun read. So Facebook top of rack. Let me find it. There we go. This is really cool. So reinventing Facebook's data center network. This is just really neat. What they're doing here is Facebook has custom designed their data centers and their switching fabric. Now, I actually met some people too at Microsoft, and they're all working together. Microsoft, Facebook, when it comes to the back-end hardware, and they're really doing a good job of optimizing this to build some of the most incredibly fast networking. And there's an interview I did a couple years ago with one of the head engineers. You can find it on my SMLR. I could probably find the episode, but it's really interesting. We were talking to the engineers there, and they are solving problems that don't exist at other companies. So what I mean by that is there's not many other companies that have the data that they need to move at the same scope and scale that Facebook or Microsoft does at Azure. They are trying to move data at a rate that is so incredibly fast that if they reach out, and this is actually kind of the behind the scenes when I talked to one of them, they reached out to companies like Cisco, and Cisco couldn't even come up with a system that even would route as fast. So they've just had to start all the way down to writing some very cool custom Linux kernels, very cool working with hardware manufacturers at the silicon level and finding OEMs that can supply parts to build these top of rack switches that can switch at a data rate that is that high. Now, something else you may find a little bit interesting is, I know I have never dove into it because I'm not super familiar with it, but you see the folks at Netgate talking a lot about their TNSR system. And why are they talking about that? Well, that's because it does vector packet routing. And vector packet routing is the ability to route packets, one, at scale, and it's completely different than pfSense. It's all command line driven. There's no web UI or anything like that. And it's the ability for people who want to build that 100 gig network and be able to switch it. And it will talk to chips at that level. By the way, this is something that you're able to run in the cloud and things like that. And you can look up vector packet routing. It's actually an open source protocol or methodology, I guess you could say. The whole system is open source. So it's really cool if you want to dive into something really high end like that. So let's see. 2 offices with pfSense connected OPVN site to site works fine. Now in my home, I'm connected through OPVTN Office 1, but cannot see servers and connect.2. You have to build routes in between them all. 1 gig backbone to a 40 gig backbone. Yeah, you need some special hardware for that, Corey. That's for sure. But you know, it's interesting when you look at all these different options for things like that. And actually, we can probably pull up the TNSR. I think they have some specs on it. This is kind of following in what I was saying there. Available for certain Netgate appliances, but that's the whole thing. This is all about even faster routing, being able to do this at a substantially faster scale than it's currently done at, which that's really what you need if you want this to, if you want to get to that level of routing where you have those really high-end ones. I've realized and discovered a challenge I have here. Oh, we wanted to say, oh, thank you. Just want to say your tech support's out. You're out here in New York, Jersey, and they have helped me over the phone, which is awesome. Hey, that's great to hear, Nick. I'm glad they were able to help. I've also realized a challenge I've created for myself. So normally I look at things on my screen, but now I'm trying to look up, and that TV's not big enough for me to read the fine text on things. So, business as unusual. Let's talk about that real quick. So, business as unusual. A few people have asked, I didn't know about doing a video on this or not, but it's kind of a follow-up to what's changed. And a lot of what's changed for us is the phone still rings, but we're dealing with different client sets. We've actually been doing more consulting lately and less local clients. And that's because you can't get, everyone's talking about running all their local clients up to the cloud and things like that. But all of our companies that do like physical stuff, like carpet installers, construction, etc. Some of them even in the transportation market, transporting goods that are going to stores. For example, we have a trucking company that moves furniture. Furniture stores aren't doing much right now, so they're not doing much right now. So we've actually had this weird shift in business where the consulting work, where many of you that have followed us from the YouTube channel have hired us for projects and setting things up. But a lot of our local clients, some of them needed to get connected remotely, but not as many of them because their jobs just can't be done remotely. Like the owners needed remote connections so they could get payroll funding set up and everything else. But it's been kind of interesting, but we do have at least a couple clients that we're worried won't make it through at all. We're not sure what they're going to do. We've been in contact with them, but we're like, I actually kind of predict they may not survive. I'm not sure. So it's going to be really interesting when it comes to, how business goes forward. How long will the social distancing last, et cetera, et cetera? Will we find some magic cure to this? Those are factors that normally just sound like, random human talking points, but they're very real to a business owner going, well, what are you going to do next? So for now, the good news is we're busy, but we just got to look at the long-term effects of this. But I've been thinking a lot about it, and I thought about doing some follow-up video. There's not a lot we've changed, though, because we stopped doing retail at the beginning of this year. So we don't have people coming in and out of our building anyways. We don't go on-site that much in general unless we have to. And right now, with most people closed, we've not really had to go on-site at all ever since this happened. So we've been doing things remotely. Matter of fact, because clients aren't there at their offices, there's not much to go do there. As long as the servers are up, if they need to remote into them, let remote into them. If they're not, they drive there and we call them and they can walk us through like, hey, make sure it's plugged in, make sure it's turned on. So that's been kind of interesting. Yeah, because we deliver so much of our services remotely. Now, the other side too, we were in the middle of a bunch of construction projects and only one of them shut down. The other ones are still going forward. They're like, no. So my guys are working, like Corey and his brother, they hang out together all the time. So they're not like, they don't need to distance from each other to live together, and they are working and installing things. So they're working in an empty building that they're putting wiring in. That's actually going on still. Matter of fact, when you do some of these large warehouse type buildings that we're working in, you're not buying anyone anyways. You're always more than, even before this, you're always more than 6 feet away. So those type of projects are still just going along as if nothing happened for the most part. We're just doing our thing, installing wires. Because, we're often working with them after hours. So that part of my business is actually still pretty much the same. But what's changed is not as many calls for new bids. That's obviously going to slow down because with not a lot of people open, they're not calling for the new things to be put in. So there's going to be this gap where we finish some and may not have projects lined up right away. But then again, one company called us, a medical facility, because they're open, and we're bidding a very big project for them right now. So at least one bid looks like it's going to come through. So, which is pretty cool as well. Let's see. My audience is all over the place, so it's interesting. Like we just sold. I mean, like we were an IX Systems reseller, and we just sold another IX Systems. It cost like one system from them that they ordered was more than my Tesla. So that client has very big, expensive needs when they're talking about just one component of their storage equipment is north of 60 grand. So there's a big variety of customers we have. Which one's off center? I got a lot of stickers on my laptop. So yeah, we have a big variety of clients. So, but yeah. Anyways, Corey's brother. He is Corey's brother. I don't know. I guess we have a lot of contractors we use. Corey's brother's actually among them. I let Corey pick a lot of his contractors for things. So, You know, people ask me all the time, have I played with Docker, Kubernetes, or Rancher? I'm not a DevOps guy, so I do limited amount of DevOps, so it's not like a primary part of my business. And I have someone that wants to book some consulting with me, so they want me to help them with some of that stuff. And I always tell people as I get some of the calls like that, hey, someone wanted me to train them on Docker. And I'm like, I don't know what gave you the impression that I'm a Docker expert. So I've had to turn down some of those. It does seem to come up quite a bit. I think there seems to be a demand for that. I got Docker. I know how to use Docker, but I don't do videos on it because I'm not so fluent in it that I think I can teach it. But maybe I can. I don't know. I try to get Phil. Phil uses Docker containers and things like that to do a few of them. Yeah, 60K is kind of high for a personal budget. Do I use Windows Sandbox? I don't use Windows. So no, I guess I don't use Windows Sandbox, but I don't use Windows. So to answer the question, I'm running Pop! OS Linux right now, but I'm much more of a Linux person than that. Something interesting though, speaking of Windows, obviously we support Windows all day, and my staff uses Windows to service all the clients. That's not my part of the job and what I do here. But the Windows has a new integration with G Suite that's actually really slick. So the G Suite integration allows you to, and we may do a video on this because you're looking for something that's like an alternative to Active Directory, like this comes up about, I don't know. So far it hasn't come up yet, but shocking. The alternative to Active Directory, but still having Windows, is G Suite now has some options to do user authentication and control over the system. And this is kind of neat. So you don't have to be on Office 365 and use any of the Active Directory plugins type stuff on their system, but you can still control users on the local system for it. So I thought that was kind of neat. I thought it's kind of a nice feature that Google's extending that in there. But obviously, limited use case because a lot of times companies that are running full G Suite, I've even seen companies give their clients Chromebooks at that point because most of the time they're doing everything in the web and everything web-based. Therefore, Chromebooks are perfectly fine for them. And I think Chromebooks are one of those simple solutions of the future that we're going to see a lot of. Chromebooks or some variation of it where you have a lightweight, thin client. It's not going to be for the power users, but the power users don't represent the majority. Me, a power user, I'm going to run a full-blown operating system on here. The salespeople, they just need some sales tools. They don't need a bunch of things. They need something to create a presentation, to quote prices for clients. As more and more tools become web-based to do that, a thin client makes complete sense for that. It's like the most logical. Matter of fact, this is why young startup companies, that's exactly how they do it. They go serverless. They don't have some infrastructure build out or servers. They do everything build and run cloud applications. It's very challenging for old legacy companies because are fully embedded with lots of data all tied up in their enterprise system that's hosted on-prem in some system that doesn't port well to the cloud at all. So G Suite works completely based on individual computers. So it just matters that the computer is connected to the internet. So yeah, it's something I might dive into and do a video. It's pretty neat. So you can use it for home scenarios, but it does require that you have the upgraded business account for G Suite to do that. So it's not something that comes with Gmail. It comes with G Suite and only the more advanced one. You don't need to have grounded unless you're worried about the, only if you have an RF problem do you need to worry about grounded cables for that. I see someone asking that question about whether or not they need to have grounded cables. I've not had a problem interoperating with people who use Microsoft. We use G Suite here, and we don't have any problem interoperating with people who use Microsoft, which is the majority of our clients. Maybe not the majority. Well, I'd say more than 50% have Office 365, maybe even higher. We do have a handful of clients that have G Suite. So it's funny. It's just one of those things. Younger companies like it. The older companies are, gotta have my Microsoft Excel and my Microsoft Word, and I don't want to change. But we have no problem interoperating, opening documents they send to us, and vice versa, sending them back the other way. So it's really not been a big deal at all. Yeah, the G Suite Business has sign-on, and Enterprise is where you get the full-blown features. It's pretty cool. It's something I want to dive a little more into. So I don't know what POF is. So I don't have any experience with POF because I don't know what POF is. PUBG channel. Anyways, what else do we want to talk about? I don't know. It also means less things go in the landfill. I lost context. Synology does do AD. We've tested it, but it's not going to work with some of the enterprise applications. If you just need basic authentication, go Synology. If you're a home user or a small office with a handful of people, go Synology. If you have an enterprise application that requires advanced AD functions, don't go Synology. Buy a Windows server. That's the one thing that's, I don't know. Maybe I need to do a video on that, and I'll just keep randomly replying everyone. That's all. It's just that simple of a formula for us. I already did a video on that. I have more than one. I have videos on what goes on the IoT network. Just search my channel. I have a video on it, so I have more than one. If you type in like pfSense IoT, pfSense VLAN, or pfSense small office setup, I walk through an entire small office setup with a guest network and everything from start to finish, what the rules need to be and everything else. That's probably the one of those two videos will answer the question. I even have a pfSense, what goes on what network, and how the rules get written for that. Do I need to use PCI pass-through with pfSense? No, you don't have to. You know, it's really funny. Someone contacted me and I didn't reply to them. Someone found my Instagram, which, by the way, is not private. It's not a challenge of whether or not you can find it. You can Google search enough and find it because it's got my name in it. And they start out with this long message of they couldn't figure out any other way to contact me and they really need help with setting up OpenVPN on pfSense. And I'm like, they also said they watch all my videos. I'm like, if you watch all my videos and can't figure out a way to contact me besides Instagram, which isn't linked anywhere, I just don't reply. So if you're that person, you have me watching this and you somehow have missed the fact that we have forums, a contact form where you can hire us to help you with projects. I'm just like, I get a lot of weird messages like that. And all the people who randomly send me email, there's an autoresponder that people get to see where it says I don't respond to emails. So people who, someone decided to randomly send emails to addresses they think exist is basically what it is. I'm like, I'm not sure why they do that. Like, oh, let me just send you this long thing. I can see them in a queue and look through them occasionally when I want to entertain myself. But yeah. Is there anything about Zabbix I don't like? It'd be cool if it was easier. I don't know. I wish Zabbix maybe... I got to dive into Zabbix 5. Zabbix 5 will be out in May. When Zabbix 5 comes out, it's going to be interesting. I want to see what else they have in terms of features. I'm going to rerun through the setup of it, see if it's that much different. See if they've added... It'd be kind of cool if they had like a wizard to set things up to make it a little bit easier. But I don't know. It's a pretty cool service. I do like Zabbix, maybe more templates, but it has such, it's a pretty, I don't know. I can't say there's one thing I don't like about it. Overall, it's just a great way to aggregate all the data together. I am pretty happy with it. What else we have? Computer illiterate people. LastPass. LastPass is probably still... I love Bitwarden. I'm going to probably say LastPass might be a little bit easier for end users. There's definitely more documentation for it. Bitwarden's not bad either. I think even for end users, Bitwarden's pretty good. The FreeNAS spare parts video. Yeah, the spare parts FreeNAS box is still sitting right here. It's going to be fun because I have a couple more. We have some rebuilding of our own FreeNAS stuff I'm going to redo. So that's on my to-do list. I may or may not do a video on some of that. It's just me rebuilding some of my equipment. And before I do that, I just got to back up a few things or just move them. So they're always, at any given moment, I always make sure any of the large data sets I have are duplicated. And I want to rebuild my backup FreeNAS server and clean it out and everything else. So right now it backs up all my videos. So worst case, I'd lose all the videos. They're all uploaded, but I keep a copy of all the videos I created and then I duplicate them. So now I got to duplicate them again somewhere else. So there's still redundancy in the backups, but I don't bother backing up my videos off site because it gets to be too big. So that's the one thing that I've not taken the time to do is figure out where do I put them all? You know, where do you put 6 terabytes or 8 terabytes or however many there are of videos? Where do I stick all this stuff? So I don't know. I got to prune them and figure out what I actually want to keep. Self-hosted shout out of the week. I thought about doing a rundown of some self-hosted stuff. I know the self-hosted community is in here a lot because I talk a lot about self-hosted things. And I tell you what, self-hosted is becoming more and more popular with large companies. And the reason why is the cloud creep. They're just starting to add up the bill going, this is pricey. The cloud is getting more expensive. These fees cost a little bit more. So they're trying to figure out what really belongs in the cloud, what really belongs on site. And this isn't just something that the home users are looking at. This is something large companies do. They're going, well, this may make sense to run it ourselves. And they either run it in the cloud, because it seemed like a convenient way. But like I said, you start digging into it, you're like, wow, that bill's kind of pricey. And when I say self-hosted, it doesn't mean they're just sticking in a closet in their local building. Sometimes they're moving it to a colo and managing it themselves because it's just a better and more cost-effective way to do it. Cloud prices build up. Well, yeah, they only ever go up. So that's one thing for sure. So that's colos are reasonably priced, so you can a lot of times get that. And like Corey Thompson pointed out, with Amazon S3 with Glacier, when you're trying to store stuff, it's some of those other hidden fees. Like you look at the cost per gigabyte, you're like, that's cheap. Oh, transactional fees. That's not cheap getting your data in. Oh, you need to get your data back out. Here's your bill. Ingress and egress of data can be kind of expensive. I've actually found Backblaze to be one of the more affordable ones. That's where we keep a lot of data. And Backblaze has been really solid for pricing on it. I thought about it's going to be expensive the first time I upload it with all transaction and ingress fees. It's not too expensive, but I may start archiving all my videos to something like Backblaze as well. Just so I want an offsite copy on the off chance that something catastrophic happened to the building and I have a backup of them. All of our business documents are all well duplicated and everything else, and all of our, primary stuff is. But the videos are one of those things. They're just a lot of data, and it's always figuring out what to do with them. Yeah, Colo's prices vary quite a bit, so yeah. So let me try to do something here because this is annoying me and I want to be able to talk to things better. Actually, I want to do this. I'm going to switch to a different screen setup here. Wow, everything's on one screen again. That's interesting looking. All right. Then we do this and set it back to mirror. Way easier for me to deal with. Perfect. Oh, that's so much easier. Easier on the eyes. There we go. I can actually read and talk to these things much better. Granted, somewhere, where did it go? Here. We got to drag this. Pin. All right. Oh, so much easier to read. Back to the way it was. I thought the second monitor was a good idea. I'm going to have to figure that out because it's creating a different challenge for me. So, all right. What else do we want to talk about for the good of the class? Because I do have to get going eventually here. So we talked about Facebook top of the rack. Who was? Let me look here. Oop, I forgot to publish SMLR. I got to do that. John Gossman. this is the guy we actually interviewed. Really interesting talking to him. John Gossman's fascinating guy. He does a lot over at the. Does he have probably has a Wikipedia entry? He's got a Crunchbase. He was the lead architect over there at Microsoft, and he was working on the Azure product. Just fascinating guy, doing some really interesting work on designing the Azure data centers and things like that. So wild to talk about the scale, the scope of the problems that they had there, which made for a really interesting interview. And if you don't know, we have lots of random stuff we talk about on, this is the SMLR site. I have another episode that I have not. 323 will get published maybe today or tomorrow. So I do have one more episode. We recorded it. And before I pulled this up, I didn't realize I forgot to publish it. So I get busy doing things and whoops. But anyways, I will get this show published on here. This is another way you can listen to me and a few of my friends dive into a few things. It's been a little weird because we are used to doing it on site together, and we've been doing them all remotely. We're trying to get the cadence down a lot better. So if there's some random pauses, we're working on it. So it's like you're like, wait, everyone pause for a second. It's because we weren't sure who was with when it was. We don't want to talk over each other, and it's easy when you're looking at each other. We use hand motions to point to someone to go to the next story. We're trying to do that with the video, but the problem is when you have a single monitor and we've been recording it, you are reading it and not seeing the other people, and yeah, there's some challenges basically. So I've been working on that though. Let's see, what else we have? Have you ever run across SMR drives and been burned by them? No, actually not. I don't think any of the drives we've sold based on the date we sold them and the fact that a lot of our clients got the Western Digital Pro NAS drives or just other drives. Like some of them have Iron Wolf. Some of them are running like the Dell Enterprise server drives that came with the servers they bought. So I don't think any of our clients that we went through, we were just looking through all the orders and go, I don't think there's anything that ever would have had that in there. Not in any server arrays and things like that. On the IRC page, it says the bot is on. Jenny Sopel is the descendant of Jenny and is up to date. Huh. You know, it has been a long time since I logged into IRC. I think I finally gave up IRC, so. Oh, wow. We should really update our page. I just realized a couple things are wrong. We aren't we don't do Podcast Detroit anymore. G Plus is dead. Where does that even take you now? There's our Google Plus page. Where does our IRC page go? Wow. All right, I got to talk to Tony. Tony maintains the website, so I'll just mention, like, Tony, we should just take down all this. This is bad. It's just so old. The reality is, website doesn't get a lot of hits. We were really dedicated to doing SMLR for a while. Everyone got different jobs, well, except for me. And so it's not been as up to date as it could have been. That's been a real thing with the SMLR. It's not that we're falling off, but it's just been hard to get us all together, harder since the thing here. But everyone has different jobs and a lot of travel, so it's been a little bit harder on there. So IRC to the bit zone. Yeah. What are you going to do? Anyways, if everyone could smash the like button, if everyone could go head over to the forums. Google Wave, Google Reader. Oh, huge graveyard. Actually, before we go there, I love this site. Killed by Google. This is the Google graveyard. There's so many things. Google Jump, Dragonfly, Hands on Air, Blog Compass, Arrow, YouTube Gaming, Indocs by Gmail, Google Plus, Google URL Shortener, Google Spotlight Stories, Oh my, yeah. Google Click to Call. That was a cool feature. I remember using that. Send to phone was killed but brought back. They actually have an option to send to phone now somewhere. I think that's this. They have a way to do it. It's different. Google Public Service Search, Google Desk Bar. Boy, killed 14 years ago. That was not a good product. Not a good product. I'm okay with that one. That was annoying. Apps, services, hardware. What hardware was killed? Chromecast audio. Yeah, 2015. Chromecast audio. I think Steve still has one. They still work. Chromebook Pixel. Nexus Player. Google Glass. Google TV. Nexus Q. Killed 7 years ago. Wow. Google Mini. Was a smaller version of the Google Search Appliance. Okay. Google Radio Automation. What was that? I've never even seen that one. Google TV. Revolve. What is... I don't know. You can spend a lot of time in the Google graveyard and go, you remember that? You remember that? William Daughtery, do I expect business to change when it's all over? Thank you for the donation. And yes, I think there's going to be a lot of changes. We're already seeing it. I think we're going to see the hardest hit, of course, and this is me not being any type of expert on things, but obviously the industries, like anything in the entertainment industry, is going to be devastated. Concerts, venues that booked for large parties. When you have companies saying they don't have a plan until 2021, and Microsoft made that announcement, August of 2021, that's when they're going to start planning their next events. So once you have big, large companies not planning these events, the trickle-down effect is all these other companies are following suit and not having events. So any business that was supported by that event venue type business, they're going to be hard hit for a long time. So we're definitely going to be seeing that because it's just going to be a while before that gets back in some type of working order. It's not just about opening it. I mean, this is one thing that people, and I'm not here, to try to judge on any of this, but you can protest all you want. The reality is the public sentiment right now is not to go. So most people surveyed, if they were to ask them, do they want to go? And I've seen the numbers all over the place, but they're always high. Would you go to a crowded event? Would you go to a concert? The majority of people are still saying no. And as long as there's a majority of people saying no, that means that event won't happen. Matter of fact, I've seen a couple people that were insistent on keeping their events, and only because so many people pulled out of it is why they stopped them, because they had them scheduled for like a month out. And someone I just talked to that I was supposed to speak at, and I was like, I don't think your event's going to happen. We're going to be doing one of them online now. And you're like, yeah, everyone pulled out. I was determined because it was like a month and a half in advanced, but it still got canceled. So that's going to be our big change is how we do that. What's going to be bigger is all this online meetings and online things like using Zoom or whatever you want to use. And why do I use Zoom? This comes up because it works. It works really, really well. So that's one of the reasons we like Zoom so much. So I think there's going to be more pressure for that and less public gathering type things. And of course, those businesses are going to be hard hit. What does that mean for us? Well, the good news is for us, but not for my friends who work in Vegas. For us, business as usual. Things will come back, and most of our clients are going to be doing pretty well. If you happen to support things like Vegas, Vegas is in real trouble because that's all about big crowds and events. So I don't know how it's going to pan out over there. So entertainment industry, short those stocks. No, I'm joking. I don't know. I'm not a stock advisor. But I think you're obviously going to know where those industries, which ones are going to come back, which ones aren't. So, let's see. Colin Vanderveen, awesome. Buy all the guys not infected a beer or two. Absolutely, is much appreciated. There, thank you much for the donation. So, I don't know. Apparently, whoever this person is needs to be banned. Should I ban people? Remove? Do you remove or report? How does that make them? So let's put user in timeout. Is that how that works? I'm always worried. I'm always confused with how the moderator stuff works. There we go. Yeah, people's anxieties play a huge part in a lot of it. So that's, you know, that's going to be a factor in it, is what the confidence level. And consumer confidence is something they really measure that affects the economy greatly. If consumers don't have confidence in any said thing, well, that's a problem. They won't buy that thing. They won't go to that event. So those are still going to be challenges that are faced that are definitely a real issue. All right, cool. All right. Team. Let's see. What else do we have here? Remove equals channel ban. Okay. Timeout's a warning and remove is a channel ban. Got it. All right. So I'm sorry I'm getting distracted by the chat here. I don't like when I have nothing to say. Anything else we want to talk about? Any things? I'm almost done with the ThinkPads in L480. If you type in L480 on my channel, you'll find a review of it. Should we go off topic? Oh, do I like Jitsi over Zoom? That depends. If I wanted to have a conversation with someone, I play with Jitsi. Jitsi's cool. I want to start a conversation. I have a webinar that I'm doing that's going to be on YouTube for an event that was going to be online, that is going to be, or was going to be in person, is now moved to online. That webinar is going to be so much easier to do in Zoom, to record in Zoom. The quality's going to be better. The chat's better. The platform works really, really well, and can set up registrations and passwords. Zoom has more features than Jitsi. And from a presenter standpoint, I have a better, smoother ability inside of there than I do in Jitsi. I like Jitsi, don't get me wrong. I think it's a great tool. It just doesn't have the power that you get with Zoom, and that's one of the reasons we like Zoom so much from a presenter. Now, privacy, I'm making all this stuff public and sticking it on YouTube. I'm not worried about privacy at all. If I were doing state secrets, I don't think I'd do them over a webinar. So is there some security back-end concerns with Zoom? Sure. Are you sharing state secrets on there? I hope not. That would be a terrible platform. Really, any video conferencing platform would probably be a bad way to discuss things that are above top level secret. You should probably be using some type of self-hosted where you control the chain every bit of the way. That's just a general rule. I wouldn't use Google or Microsoft for that either. If you have that type of security needs, then run something that is self-hosted where you're controlling the full stream of encryption. So that's kind of my opinion on that. Yeah, Zoom's more refined. That's probably a good way to say it. See, from a do you have a backup 2FA secrets and lock yourself out? Tips on how to back up 2FA secrets. Print them. Physically print them. I've mentioned this before. Because someone has to get physical offline access to wherever you kept them. That seems less likely. And if someone were to, let's say you kept them in a safe in your house. If someone were to break in your house and steal your safe, just, hypothetical here, would they know what to do with those two-factor? And second, they also still have to have your other factor. It's two-factor in two separate places. So they have to have your password and your TOTP. That's one of the reasons I say physically printing them is an excellent backup. The person breaking into your house stealing, probably not a hacker. That's why they're physically stealing things as opposed to remotely stealing things. So it's harder for them to get at. If you save them in any format, and something that a lot of the password managers support is now saving them inside of the password manager, that can be a real problem. Why? Because if someone cracks your browser and your password manager has access to both factors of authentication, now they do too. So something to think about when you're setting those up. Lots of pieces of paper. There's actually ways around that as well. Maybe I should do a video on it because I think that's maybe that's the solution right there, is I go and do a video. There's a couple of them out there, and one of the things they allow you to do is download them all out of the app and then print them all on one page, because that way you're not killing trees. So, and browser hacks are the biggest risk. That's one of the things that a lot of people aren't realizing, is browsers are your interface to the internet. And this is why everyone's like, oh, you need a better firewall that does this type of filtering or that type of filtering. I'm like, your browser cuts right through it. And so many things are going to QIC unless you're going to take the time to install a certificate in every system in order for the firewall to gain trust, which, by the way, they can't do TLS 1.3 with the double encryption. It just doesn't work. You need to focus on this as the endpoint. It's not bad. It's not that those are bad in terms of having filtering at the firewall. It's just not the most effective. Let's see. Print the QR code. Yes. Yeah, it's probably something worth talking about. Same with SSH keys. SSH keys are as important, if not more important, than two-factor for a lot of things. Well, I mean, two-factor is important, but SSH keys, managing those and not losing them. Boy, you lose your SSH keys. I just helped someone with this the other day. We got back into the system, but we had to directly go console into cloud servers that had back-end console connections so we can get their SSH keys back. So that happened. It's an issue. Print credit card size and you can store them in a reasonable way. That's true too. Fun stuff. I have a different SSH key for each system. The private key never leaves the system. That is impractical to do at scale once you start managing 300 servers. If you created a private key for every single server, it's hard to manage at scale. Especially when you're constantly building and rebuilding servers. And my friend, who is a very professional DevOps engineer, the servers he builds, servers are ephemeral to him. They get destroyed and rebuilt on a whim with his tooling that he uses. So he just tears down, anytime a server's got a problem, he just tears down, rebuilds, no big deal. And part of, if you have your Cloud-init and proper deployment set up, my public SSH keys just get dropped on the servers as I build them. That's one of the ways when you guys watch me spin up a server really quick here, my SSH keys and everything are just ready to go so I can SSH right into any new server I spin up right away. There's no delay, there's no anything else. So that's why it's hard to manage it at scale when you try to per client's different, but yeah, it just depends on the use case. One of the best books to read on that topic, we'll pull this up real quick. This book here. And I've interviewed him on the channel, by the way, Michael Lucas. He's a friend of mine. So this is OpenSSH PuTTY, Tunnels, and Keys. Actually, you probably want the second. Is this the second edition? You get this one if you're buying it, buy the latest version. Michael Lucas, and we'll go here. Whoops. We have a long interview there with Michael Lucas. He's a fun person. So definitely, if you're interested, these are all the books he wrote, by the way. This table is filled with all the books that the guy in the middle, Michael Lucas, has wrote. I am personal friends, not close, but we chat, and he's a fun person to know. But he is a tech and science fiction author, and we dive into in this interview with the history of Michael Lucas and all the things that he's been up to. And his book. He wrote 2 books on ZFS. If you want to have the best and deepest understanding of how ZFS works, read those books. If you want to get an idea how to manage SSH and how to manage SSH at scale, read the SSH book. They're hands down one of the best books out there on that type of thing, on that talk. I don't really use Cloud-init inside of XCP-ng, so I thought about trying it. I haven't played with it in a while. My thing is because I pre-template my servers, I don't need to. So, but so we're all on the same page of what we're talking about here. We'll look over here. Cloud configs. And maybe I'll play with this some so you can build a Cloud-init config. So I can create a host name, drop the authorized key in here. Test. And then when you build the server, you could tie this init config test to it. It's not something I played a ton with. You can import, export the config for them. What they do, though, is they're made to drop in certain things. Where I use on my system, because I already have servers built and set up, like when I built this one from source, I can just keep cloning servers and I have the keys all set up in here. But when you're doing it with something like Linode or DigitalOcean has their own Cloud-init system, and I have theirs configured because it just works really well. That way, whenever I spin up a new server in one of those cloud hosting systems that does it, I could probably do it inside of in there as well. It's just there. Nope, I don't use Ceph, so I don't have any plans or videos on it. Check out Backblaze has a bunch of videos on Ceph. I don't use Ceph. How do we track and assign trouble calls? Email. That's our best way to do it. Yep, Pop! OS 20 is available. I'll be loading it tonight. I'm excited about that. That's my to-do list is load Pop! OS 20 on my laptop. And I'll do a review of it. I've played with some of the tiling stuff and things like that. So yeah, I don't have a real use case for Ceph for what we do. Ceph is cool. So is Gluster. What we do doesn't really require it as much. Fiber channel? Nope. No one's really asked for that. Do I do chat support on my website? Nope, we do not. We have our rates on our website, so if you'd like to hire Share Project, there's a Hire Us button at the top. I've talked about this a lot, and we're looking at redoing our site. I was just talking to someone today. It's not going to get done soon, but it's on our to-do list. But we do have a Hire Us button right here, and this is the process by which people get hired. I'm always confused by people that want to go around the system, or I just have a question, people. We tell you, look, you have to fill out the Hire Us form unless you're an existing customer and have that. We have our rates published. This is one of the reasons we publish our hourly rate. And some people say we're too expensive. That's fine. You don't have to hire us. It's a free market. Find someone who's less. I'm fine with this. We set the rates based on the market, and we're busy. So if I thought we weren't busy with these rates, I would lower them. If I get too busy, I will raise them some more. It's keeping the balance of the free market, and I try to charge fairly based on the value I think we create by offering our consulting services here. So that's our process for it. So I'm very upfront. That's one of the things I do a lot of, is make sure I'm as upfront as possible about anything. That's why we even published our rates. People are like, oh, you shouldn't publish your rates. It's not a good sales tactic. I'm like, yeah, it is. I filter people very quickly. Like, people think you should collect everyone's email address and email market to them. No. If the person says, I'm not paying that, I don't even want them to fill the form out. Have a wonderful day. We've already concluded our business together by you deciding that we weren't the fit for you. This is okay. This is... It's just a different sales tactic I had. It's the same reason I don't use any weird click funnels. I hate those. I don't know. And maybe I'm just not a good marketing person. It's because I hate being sold to, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. How many people have seen those? Sign up for our webinar. There's 5 minutes left to buy this deal. You can check back an hour later, and when you click the links and follow the link and get the email, there's also 5 minutes left for the deal. They create these whole BS, sense of urgency type things that drive me nuts. I even laugh because one of the marketing people that, I'm not going to call anyone out by name, but because all of them do the same thing, I noticed that because I'm on their mailing list for marketing stuff, I noticed that all the filters that we use, even for our clients, like they think that the marketing links are spam. And they're not wrong because they all bring you to the ClickFunnels and click here and sign up for my registration, blah, 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 blah. It's just, I don't know, it drives me nuts. It's not my method that I prefer to do. I prefer to be as upfront and honest. Here's prices for things. Here's a clarification of things. And when you look at a lot of other companies that are popular in the market, they're kind of doing the same thing. They're putting their prices up front. They're very clear, and they're very popular services. This is one of the reasons Amazon's so popular. There's not like, hey, call us for this or that. That's the old sales mentality. Amazon's like, hey, here's a price, here's the shipping. It'll be here in a couple days. You want it or do you not? Oh, yeah. So mail us for a quote. Oh, man, that's a real pain. One of the reasons I like, I talked about this with Screen Connect. Granted, they do hide the price of their self-hosted version, but Screen Connect, they have all their pricing up front. They really want you only in special use cases to use a self-hosted one, so awesome. They have pricing. You can find out how much it costs. A lot of companies do that. That makes me happy. I've mentioned Untangle on this channel a couple times. Untangle, how much does it cost? You go to their website. They will tell you. There's not a secret to it. So, if you're ever upfront, very honest, there's still people who try and get better deal from you. Oh, yeah, there's always people that do. I got people that message me. I don't want to pay that rate, but I still want help. I don't know what to tell you. We had a couple of those that emailed us or fill out the contact form, which actually turns into an email that goes to a special box that actually fills up a folder. I've talked about the booking process. I have a whole video on that because I'm also open about how we do everything in terms of that. I don't know what good software you can integrate as a drop area. There's nothing, there are tools out there, but there's nothing that comes to mind that I can think of. If they have large files to send, there's like ShareFile. There's a couple other companies out there. I don't know what self-hosted software does it. Not to mention the uploading large files from a client's computer to your website. You got to have plenty of back-end storage when you set that up. So I'm sure there's some self-hosted app that would allow it, but there's probably nothing easy to do. Minio. I seen someone, maybe it was you, that was emailing me back and forth about Mini.io. It's not something I've used before. One of the things that's of note is FreeNAS itself has native S3, like it can act as an S3 storage bucket. And I'm actually working on some videos on that because they've revamped how they do the S3 integration on FreeNAS. And this is actually pretty cool because you can then build a S3 storage and however you want to build it and point it at actually S3 or point it at the FreeNAS. And we're going to do some videos with the MSP 360 software pointed at a FreeNAS as an S3 storage bucket and test out how all that works. It's going to be kind of cool. No, don't use FTP. Please don't use FTP. FTP needs to die. There are way better tools than FTP for doing it. Firefox Send, I don't know that you can send that big of a file. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. I don't know what the limitation is. ShareFile is the one that comes, like there are service companies that do it. So yeah, just don't use FTP. Yeah, FreeNAS has itself, let me pull it up real quick, native S3 support. Right here. So tie it to one of the IP addresses, or all of them. Set the port, build the access key, secret key, custom secrets key. Where do you want it to point to? Browse the directory for the S3 file system, pick a spot, and yeah. choose a certificate, and there you go. Now you have yourself an S3 bucket. It's not something I use a lot. I mean, I haven't really played with it at all, but I thought, hey, why not? It's built in. They've revamped it. Seems pretty cool. There's also WebDAV in here. So depending on how you want to do it, in some you can use WebDAV with some of the some applications support it as a back end. So you could tie and write your own front end for it and tie FreeNAS as a back end for storage. But I mean, the sky's the limit on what you want to build, but that's there. Oh, yes, and if you remember before, this is the same one that did have a problem and now has no problems. This had a degraded RAID array, so got 9 terabytes left. Woohoo! 2 10 gig cards in there. All right, we're reaching the end here. Bash the like button. There's 272 of you, but only 77 likes. What can we do to fix that? Is there a module save Microsoft 365 tenant in FreeNAS? I don't think so. Not natively, but you could probably use some other middleware to tie them together in some way. Would you recommend encrypting SMB connection? Always. Always encrypt SMB. Don't turn off SMB encryption. 90 likes. 101 likes. They're getting up there. ZFS replication to the cloud. You can do ZFS to the cloud. You just have to have a cloud that has ZFS support on there. More than likely, you'd be using whatever native tool. So let's say, can you do, I am doing a new remote replication video. They did a really nice job. They made the replication from server to server in FreeNAS really nice. The new version of FreeNAS has a much better replication. So the video is actually going to be shorter than the video I previously did on ZFS replication because they've just made it simpler to do. Yeah, FreeNAS native S3 isn't going to replicate. It's just a storage bucket. So once you set up a storage bucket in S3, you can replicate it to wherever you want, or FreeNAS supports cloud backup tools as well. So if you go to, is it tasks? I did a video on this, but I think they moved where they're located at. Well, first you got to set up an account over in the system. So, Cloud Sync tasks, that's what they're called. You add, there's a cloud credentials section, set a discretion pull or push. Credentials, I got my Backblaze one in here, and we had a Linux one we set up. So there's my Backblaze one. Hey, look, it's still configured. So there's my Backblaze B2 demo. And from there, you can pick the bucket, which, I don't know, I'll play with this later. But you can basically upload, copy files, set the remote encryption, set how you want to do the password, how you want to do the password salt, different transfers, follow symlinks, bandwidth, execute, and away you go. Now you can do this. Now, there's a couple different companies supported in here. So if we go over here to accounts and we go to cloud credentials and we hit add, they support S3, Backblaze B2, Dropbox, FTP, Google Cloud Server, Google Drive, HTTP, Hubic, Mega, Azure Blob, Microsoft OneDrive. So there's probably some integration you can do with OneDrive. I haven't tested this. That might be interesting. SFTP, WebDAV, Yandex, and pCloud. Now, I do know, and I don't know if this is still true, there was some problems with Mega. I don't know what they were. I remember that being one of the complaints that someone had told me, and I don't use Mega, so I didn't feel like setting up an account just to prove whether or not this was actually true. But they did link to a forum post where apparently there's some compatibility issues. But at least the big ones are in here. Amazon S3 and Backblaze, Dropbox, we see these more than anything else. Google Cloud Storage is probably good, and Azure Blob Storage is probably going to be, I don't know that Azure is the cheapest place to store things, but maybe you do need to store things in Azure. That being said, one of the other options is people who want to store it themselves, and that's where the SFTP comes along. So host port, username, password, and private key ID file, and it lets you right here generate a new key, legacy key pairs. I have a couple key pairs in here, so you can actually build a key pair and send things over SFTP to synchronize them with just a generic anything that runs Linux type box that has an SSH service, or anything that runs SSH, Linux, Windows, whatever. So, Gray Rabbit, thank you for all the great videos, and thank you for the $10, Gray Rabbit. It was much appreciated, very much. OneDrive integration is a lot of command integration. Yeah, I don't know. I don't use OneDrive, so. 116 likes. We got quite a few. Do you use third-party modules not approved for FreeNAS? No. Not usually. And by the way, like I mentioned earlier, for those of you that were listening, one of the things is with FreeNAS is when we sell like the enterprise level ones, we're rarely ever, and I can't think of any of the ones we've done so far, we don't put jails in them. They're high-end storage servers and focused on being a storage server. They're not trying to multi-purpose it to do a dozen different things. So that's like I had that TrueNAS in here for review. That's one of them too. I did a few videos on that. That's what you're going to see more of, is not systems that are built for, trying to do everything and cram it into one machine. They're more likely to be a back-end storage server. And someone said like ESXi, it's going to be for ESXi, it's going to be for XCP-ng, whichever thing you want to see. By the way, one of the engineers over at IX Systems had mentioned to me, I thought was kind of interesting, they've seen an uptick in people with XCP-ng at the enterprise level, which is pretty cool. I thought that was definitely neat. They asked me what I thought about it, and I'm like, you probably seen my videos on it. And I go, yeah, we've seen your videos on it. I said, all right, cool. I thought that was kind of neat. They said they've seen more of them. Obviously, the elephant in the room is going to be ESXi. That's going to be the primary hypervisor system out there. So, yeah, the latest Tesla update's cool. XCP-ng is all the new rage for sure. Yes, application separate from storage. The weather's almost nice here, so I'm going to do some new Tesla videos. I have a bunch of stuff I want to do on a Tesla. I just haven't had a chance to do videos on, but it's on my to-do list, so. But whatever works for you. I see someone says they like KVM libvirt, then use it. It's funny because I get weird messages on Twitter. Someone's like, I prefer this. And I sometimes I'll reply to them, or they say, what do I think? I'm like, use what makes you happy. There's so many technicians, I think they want to be argumentative, or they want someone like to, I like this, debate me. And I'm like, use it. What, you're not going to argue with me and talk me out of it? No. If it works better for you, awesome. If you can manage it better, that makes sense. If you want me to debate why I use it, I don't use yours, so I don't have a good point of reference. I like mine because it has these features. I don't know if yours does or does not have those features. So I don't mind. If you like KVM, you can use KVM. Yeah, and a lot of people, like Damien says, if you're not in charge, you'll use whatever your work has. That is the case for many, many people. Unless you're in the decision-making position, your job does not get you to pick what you want. One of my friends, he's very talented, and he does have a few aggravations because he doesn't like some of the hardware choices they made. And it's kind of funny because he's been trying to really talk him into not keep going with the vendor, but apparently there's some relationship with not the vendor, but the sales guy and the owner. And the sales guy and the owner really like each other, and the sales guy doesn't sell the thing he wants. Therefore, he doesn't think he'll ever get the thing he wants. So, nonetheless, we reached the end of the stream. Thank you for all of you that joined me. It is much appreciated. I have to go get a couple more things done and message a couple people. I have a big pile of phones that need to be set up. That's a thing. There's a lot of projects that I probably need a little bit of my attention. Oh, Swill4103, thank you for the $10 donation. Don't worry, the live stream is going to be published. It takes a little while. After I hit stop, it does render, but then it gets published and you can watch it. Have I tried Proxmox? Not interested. I looked at it. I don't care much for Proxmox. I have a video, Proxmox versus XCP-NG, so I don't have an interest in it. Feel free to use it if you like it, though. It's a nice program. If you like it better. Phone setup with TFTP. That is actually what's being done. Chris from Crosstalk Solutions. We buy our phones from him. He's setting everything up. We're going to do the physical deployment. There's a lot of phones over there. Chris is actually one of Chris's team members, is remoted into our system and setting it up over there. Well, that way, into the other room. I might do some videos on that of how we work with them. This is one of the things that, from a business standpoint, people try to do everything themselves, and while I can do a lot of things, someone was really surprised when they tweeted at me and said, Tom, I really need help with this particular thing. And I'm like, well, I don't do it. They're like, well, how do you own a business and you don't do that thing? And I'm like, because I have contractors that do it, or I have employees that do it. There's just, like phones. Do I really want to get diving deep into free PBX? Not really. It's easier and more effective for me to hire Chris from Crosstalk Solutions and be like, hey, Crosstalk, would you like to take this phone project on? And he does. We'll buy all the phones through Chris. We'll buy some of his time. Just because Chris is my friend, I still pay him for his time. We have excellent rates worked out, but I pay him. I buy everything up front from him. He's a great guy to work with. His company, I should say, because we work with his team members. I don't expect Chris himself to do it. And his team members go in. We get all the phones set up. We'll do the physical deployment. We temporarily have them all here at our office to get them ready, and then they're going to get deployed for a local client. And then we're all done. We're going to manage it all. So the TFTP server is going to run inside of FreePBX. That's why I never bother. I mean, I never bother with it in pfSense. It seems like why? If I'm pulling TFTP for phones, I may as well have FreePBX doing all of it. The TFTP server, the templates are all there. You can manage it all in one place. Because if not, I got to get the phone template, copy it over to my pfSense. That seems like doing things the hard way. This particular one are still Sangoma. There's a couple things where you may or may not want to go with one or the other, and the deal was on a Sangoma stuff. And I think it's also what we quoted a long time ago, which I say a long time ago, and the customer finally approved when it was Sangoma. I want to do some of the Clearly IP stuff as well. They both make nice stuff. Been using VMware since 3.0, company trying to move to Hyper-V, slowly migrating, immediate issues after Windows updates, took MS support 4 months to figure out in the last 6 months. Oh yeah, I have run into, we've helped a couple people that are like, they went from Hyper-V fanboys to this last update, I want to choke everyone at Microsoft because they can't get this thing fixed. The big challenge I think with Hyper-V is it's built on Windows. It may be that the core of Hyper-V itself may be very good, but the fact that it's built on Windows and the Windows update problems that come with it are where you run into problems. It's just, I don't get it. So that's, yeah. Phone vendors. I'm doing a video on that topic, so be patient, and I will have a video on who to use for phone vendors and all that other stuff. That video is coming because we're changing who we're using for the phone vendor. We'll have a whole phone vendor video, and I want to do some phone discussions and ROI discussions on that topic as well. You can only get Hyper-V Core if you want it for free. Yes, but Hyper-V Core still runs on Windows. Therefore, when Windows updates go, let me just destroy your life, it just does it. Yeah, TFTP via internet? No, that wouldn't be a good idea. Hyper-V is free as long as you don't mind risking your data going away with an update to Windows that breaks everything and it doesn't boot. I don't know. Like I said, not a Hyper-V fan. Yeah, Hyper-V Core is its own OS, but I've seen so many problems with it. And Granted, I know it's a skewed statistic. I say that because people who run Hyper-V that don't have problems and don't want to switch, they don't call us. So I know a lot of people run it, a lot of people are happy. The people who do have problems are the ones that call us. So I do know it's a skewed statistic when I say I've seen a lot of problems with Hyper-V. No one who has Hyper-V running perfectly fine calls and says, I think I need to switch. This has been running too smooth. So I do know Hyper-V exists out there working fine for some people. Let me just destroy your life. Yeah, Microsoft's updates are scary. Like it's like brace for impact every time you do it. That's why I run Linux on my laptop, like I have for years. It's not that I don't know how to service Windows, although I am a little bit lost in Windows 10. I always got to fuddle around. If someone has me look at a Windows 10 machine, I always have to fuddle around a minute to find out where they move something to. Sonos across VLANs and pfSense are terrible. Don't. Sonos are stupid. I've worked on it. You can load a new plugin for pfSense to make it work, but it's a headache. Just put whatever, if you want Sonos, put everything you want to control that Sonos on the same network. Matter of fact, your phone and your Sonos should be on the same network anyways. I don't know why they wouldn't. Why would I want to use OpenSense? Everyone asks that. I don't have a compelling use case for it, so I don't use it. There's nothing about it that makes me go, oh, I need that. Yeah, I look up shortcuts all the time. The problem I have with Windows 10 is they buried the stupid, every time I change network settings. To my family members, no. Even my gaming desktop runs Windows. So it's not that I don't use Windows at all. My gaming desktop runs Windows. So it's my business runs Linux. My home happens to run Windows because I like games. Yeah, I don't know. OpenSense didn't ever make sense to me, but I mean, I don't hate the project or anything. And I know they've got some integration with, what was that? Zero Tier, which is cool, I guess, but CLI on Windows? Yeah, never, I guess. I don't know this. Maybe I should try this. If you have bash inside of Windows, can you change the network stack? Can you just do the bash config commands? That would be convenient if I could just change the network settings via bash. I don't know if the Windows subsystem for Linux lets you adjust the network settings from the command line. It may. I don't know. It's a mix of who does and doesn't run Linux in the office. There's reasons for that. Okay, everyone's telling me no, it doesn't work. All right. Oh, well. You know what does work? Doot. I can do this. And I can just make things happen. VPNs. I can move my head over a little bit. We were talking about this. I couldn't show this earlier, but this is one of the things like in Linux I have. Because Linux just makes this easy. I move my head so you can see it. I'm going to go over here. I think right there is like a great spot for me. But this is how I just move between different locations and things like that. What are you talking about? Because I have my office or my split tunnel. I got them set up here. Pop! OS, and I know a lot of it's GNOME and a lot of it's Ubuntu, but Pop! OS just does a nice job on all of this as far as making it work. The way things you can go between stuff. Let me see if Pop! OS, does it show my upgrade yet? I don't think it'll prompt me. I think I got to do it. Yeah, I probably got to do the update. No updates. But is it ready to download? I want to switch to 20. Pop! OS download. Is it on our site yet? Woohoo! There we go. Wow, they redid the site from this morning. I like it. They do such a nice job on it. So I'm really excited about version 20 here. This is dark mode. Haha, that's clever. Look at that clever website. They do everything right. These people have the nicest website for buying their computers, for downloading Pop! OS. They put such a nice polish on it. I am thrilled about that. I am excited about that particular distro. So, yeah, I just keep going on tangents and stuff like that. PowerShell is interesting. I actually interviewed twice. I've got to interview Jeffrey Snover, the person who designed and invented PowerShell. Jeffrey Snover is an amazing person if you haven't met him. So yeah, there's some reasons for PowerShell. We talk, me and him offline when I got to just hang out with him. Really brilliant person and great to talk to. Also had a TRS-80 like I did, so definitely a fun person to talk to. But there's some reasons for PowerShell. One of the things that PowerShell allowed Microsoft to do was build Azure. And so much of the back-end things that work in there, there's so much more to the story. So I kind of get PowerShell. Microsoft really needed PowerShell. I don't think it's solving a problem that didn't exist. I think it solved a real problem Microsoft had with needing something from the command line to be able to be scalable. PowerShell is actually a very solid language for controlling and managing systems. So I definitely think it's a good thing. Force shutdown. Yeah, force. Use the force to shut it down. Okay, we can go with that. It's a reach. Yeah, they needed PowerShell. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It's especially with the reality is, and this question comes up every now and then, like, oh, you run Linux. Do you push your clients to Linux? No, not at all. Why would I push my clients to Linux? It won't run the things they need to do. So it comes down to your use case, and it's the same thing. It's not like I force every one of my staff to use Linux, because if it won't do the thing they want to do, it won't work for them. It has to do the things, it has to be part of the business workflow. Business has to work first. As much as I could say, hey, I'd like to see everyone running Linux, it's not practical, it's not reasonable. I have a business to run. It's one of those things that you can say off in the corner, but when you deal with the reality of dealing with legacy companies, legacy businesses, and things like that, I'm not going to only take clients that can run Linux on. Some of them have to run Windows, and we have to do support for them, so we have them running Windows. It's kind of as simple as that. May 4th special stream, maybe. Seems like a fun idea. 128. All right, I'm finally winding down. I'm gonna drink a little more hot sauce to wake me up, but I'm gonna hit the stop button here. A little hot sauce to clear my throat. I love Frank's RedHot. For those of you that missed the beginning, I'm just drinking my my squirt bottle of Frank's RedHot. I really like that. And for all you that didn't see this in the beginning, it'll of course be on there again. Thank you for the 100,000 of you that clicked the subscribe button, and thank you for the 128 of you so far that clicked the like button. That is awesome. Thank you for joining me for this hour and a half and the last half hour of me babbling about tangents and everything else. So awesome. Thank you very much. 131, more of you clicking it. It's much appreciated. More videos coming, and I want to kick off the upgrade on my laptop. I got to get that done. So we'll be upgrading now that 20 is out. I want to see. Or maybe I'll be aggravated tomorrow because my laptop will be broken. One of those things is going to happen tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Thanks.